This your Ak Kadesh coming to you again. I'm going to bring a quick little lesson, and it's entitled, "The unclean shall not inherit the kingdom of Hamashiach." And that script comes from Ephesians 5, verse 5. And we're going to get into this where, you got the whole world saying, I can eat what I want to eat, do what I want to do. All I got to do is pray over it. I'm good. I'm going to get in. I'm saved. This and that. But this is going to be a real quick lesson. Very detailed. Very to the point. It doesn't need no interpretation. So let's get into it. Isaiah 28, verse 9 and 10. Whom shall he teach knowledge, and whom shall he make to understand doctrine? Them that are weaned from the milk and drawn from the breast. That means is those that are weaned from the milk means, weaned from weak doctrine, like basic doctrine. There's meat in these scriptures, and we must get into the meat of it. A lot of people don't want to get the meat of it because they so satisfied with just milk, just sucking that breast milk, That's all they want to do. They satisfy where they at, They don't want to be moved, this and that, Okay, verse 10. Now here's where a lot of people don't understand, especially the Sunday church, because they've been taught the wrong way. Verse 10. For precept must be upon precept. Precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line. Here a little, there a little. That's clear cut. Here a little, there a little. Old Testament, New Testament. Here a little, there a little. Line upon line. It all has to match. Okay, let's move on to Romans chapter 3. We're going to pick it up at verse 1. Romans 3 and 1. And it says, What advantage then hath the Jew? For what profit is there of circumcision? Pay very close attention to this next verse, verse 2. Much every way, chiefly because that unto them were committed the oracles of the Most High. And we know the oracles mean anything came out the Most High's mouth, he gave it to a certain nation to pass on. And those were the Jews. The true Jews are the so-called African American man and woman, the so-called black man and woman in this hemisphere and throughout the other three corners of the world. We're not just here in the Western Hemisphere, as some want to teach. We're scattered throughout the four corners of the world. So that's who the real Jews are. That's another topic. We'll get into that another day. So let's move on. Romans 9 and verse 4. Romans 9 and verse 4. And now follow along these precepts very closely, and you'll see a picture that's being painted. Romans 9, verse 4. Who are Israelites? To whom pertaineth the adoption, and the glory, and the covenants, plural, old and new, and the giving of the law, and the service of the Most High, and the last one, and the promises. All the promises are to the Israelites. Okay, let's move on. We'll go to Romans 10. Romans 10, verse 14 and 15. Romans 10, 14 and 15. It says, How then shall they call on him in whom they have not believed? And how shall they believe in him of whom they have not heard? And how shall they hear without a preacher? Watch this. Verse 15. And how shall they preach except they've been sent? So, who was sent to preach this word? Very clear. It was Israel. And to be more specific, the tribe of Levi. So, if you're not from the tribe of Levi, particular, or Israelite period, if you're a Caucasian or Gentile, how is you preaching this word? And that's what's wrong with the world today. You got so many people that this word was not given to teach, trying to teach it. And that's why it's corrupt. And, let me keep back. Let me go back to 15. And how shall they preach except they be sent? As it is written, How beautiful are the feet of them that preach the gospel of peace and bring glad tidings of good things. Okay, let's move on. 2 Timothy 3:16. Now we're about to really get into it. 2 Timothy 3:16. 2 Timothy 3:16. Now we're about to see what the word says as we deal into this unclean man and woman, and do they have any inheritance, do they can do what they want to do. Let's see what the script says. Now we're going to get to the script, the meat, so to speak. We left the milk. Now we're moving on to some meat. A lot of people don't even want to, the Sunday church they had no idea what these scriptures mean. 2 Timothy 3:16. All scripture, some scripture, a few scripture. It says all scripture. Now what scripture again? Scripture is Genesis to Malachi. Because when Paul and Timothy, everybody was walking the earth, even the Hamashiach, when they walked the earth, there was no so-called New Testament yet. They taught the Holy Scripture, the Hebrew Scriptures, the Torah, from Genesis to Malachi. Let's go again. All Scripture is given by inspiration of the Most High and is profitable for doctrine, reproof, for correction, for instructions in righteousness. Like I said before in another lesson, if all Scripture is given for instructions in righteousness and you're following a man or a woman who's telling you these things are done away, then your instruction is in wickedness, not righteousness. Okay, let's move on. Ephesians 5. Now we're about to really get into it. Ephesians 5, verse 5. It says, "For this ye know, that no whoremonger, nor unclean person, nor covetous man, who is an idolater, hath any inheritance in the kingdom of Hamashiach and of the Most High." Verse 6, "Let no man deceive you with vain words." The word vain means empty, nothing, empty words. "For because of these things cometh the wrath of the Most High upon the children of disobedience." So we see here, let no man deceive you. Let no man say to you, well, you can eat pork. All you gotta do is pray over it. We save through grace. We don't have to keep that old law no more. We can eat what we want to eat, drink what we want to drink, put on what we want to put on, do what we want to do, basically, because we're covered by grace. This clear says, let no man deceive you with those kind of words. Those are empty words. They don't mean nothing to the Most High. What means to the Most High is keeping His commandments, laws, and statutes to your best ability. That's what's important to the Most High. So He said His word should not come back void, which means empty again. So His word is going to go out, it's going to come back. Let's move on. Let's go all the way back to Numbers. All the way back to the beginning. And like I said before, I always like to put the beginning in my lessons, because that's where the foundation is at, in the beginning. So let's go to Numbers 19 and verse 20. Numbers 19 and 20. And I hope you follow along. Keep following along. Follow along. Read it over and over until you get it. And ask the Most High to show it to you. He'll show it to you. He has to show it to you. If you ask Him with a sincere heart, He'll show you these things, like He showed all of us who found out we are Israel today. And found out that if we Israel, we people of this book, we got to do what this book says. We asked for it. He gave it to us. Numbers 19 and 20. "But the man that shall be unclean and shall not purify himself, that soul shall be cut off from among the congregation, because he has defiled the sanctuary of Yahuwah. The water of separation has not been sprinkled upon him. He is unclean." So there are certain things in this world that make the Israelite man and woman unclean. And in some aspects, you're only unclean until evening. But even in that unclean state, you have to do something. You have to wash your garments. You have to bathe in running waters and cleanse yourself of this uncleanness. until the evening. Now this clearly says if you don't follow that instruction, cleaning your garment, washing your garment, washing yourself, your body in running water, then you're unclean for good. Then you have so-called made void the sacrifice, of cleansing yourself. Okay, now let's move on to Leviticus. Back up a few. Leviticus 11. We're going to read 1 through 12. Leviticus 11, 1 through 12. So we just seen that when you're unclean, you have to purify yourself. If you don't purify yourself, you will remain unclean, and you cannot enter into the congregation of your tribe, or your so-called your tabernacle, whatever. Leviticus 11. We're going to read verse 1 through 12. It says, And Yahuwah spake unto Moshe, that's Moses for those that don't know, and Aaron, that's Aaron, saying unto them, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, These are the beasts which ye shall eat among all the beasts that are on the earth. Whatsoever parteth the hoof, and is cloven-footed, and cheweth the cud among the beasts, that shall you eat. Now, chewing the cud, a lot of people don't know what that is. Chewing the cud is when an animal, we're going to get into it later on, when an animal chews his food and he doesn't regurgitate it and chew it again. He only chews it one time. Basically, he only has one stomach. So he like, chewing a cud means an animal like a deer. A deer chews the cud and is cloven-footed and all that. That's why we're able to eat deer. He chews the cud. What that means is he chews the food up once. Then he regurgitates that food, breaks it down again. Now he's able to digest it. But certain animals like pigs, they only chew it one time and it is not digested in their system. So when you eat it, all that bacteria that remains, you're eating that bacteria, that poison, because it hasn't been digested properly. Okay, let's go back again. That's verse 2. Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, These are the beasts which ye shall eat among all the beasts that are on the earth. Whatsoever parteth the hoof, and is cloven-footed, and cheweth the cud, among the beasts, that shall you eat. Verse 4. Nevertheless, these shall you not eat of them that chew the cud, or of them that divide the hoof, as the camel, because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof, he is unclean to you. And the coney, because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof, he is unclean unto you. And the hare, because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof. So you have to have all three for you to eat. The animal has to chew the cud, be cloven-footed, and divide the hoof. Three things. Then we can eat the animal. If you don't have all three, you can't eat it. Those that walk on the land, you can't eat it. You can't touch their dead carcass. Now here's the most important one that everybody just ignores. I'm going to eat it, I'm going to touch it, I'm going to do what I want to it. Verse 7. And the swine, we all know swine is a pig. And the swine, though he divide the hoof and cloven-footed, yet he cheweth not the cud. See, he has two of the three. You got to have all three to be able to be eaten, to be clean. Read it again. And the swine, though he divide the hoof and be cloven-footed, yet he cheweth not the cud. He is unclean to you. Of their flesh shall ye not eat, and their carcass shall you not touch. They are unclean to you. These shall you eat of all that are in the waters. Now we move on to the waters. We see here we're not even supposed to touch the pig when he's dead. None of that. Let's move on. Verse 9. These shall you eat of all that are in the waters. Some people like eating shrimp, lobster. We're going to see, are they clean for us to eat or are they unclean? Let's see what the scripture says. These shall you eat of all that are in the waters. Whatsoever hath fins and scales in the waters, in the seas, and in the rivers, them shall you eat. Now let's take a look at this. Does a shrimp have scales and or fins? No. Does lobster? No. Crab legs, frog legs, none of that. Let's move on. Verse 10. And all that have not fins and scales in the seas and in the rivers, of all that move in the waters, and of any living thing which is in the waters, they shall be an abomination to you. Now, he says an abomination. I'll show you another scripture where the Most High hates abominable things. He hates abominations. So if you eat these things, if the Most High hates abominations, and you eat these things and you become abominable, the Most High hates you. Clear cut. Stop eating them. Okay, verse 11. They shall be even an abomination unto you. You shall not eat of their flesh, but ye shall have their carcasses in abomination, which means they are an abomination to you. Verse 12. Whatsoever hath no fins nor scales in the waters, that shall be an abomination unto you. I mean, that's crystal clear right there. That's crystal clear. Let's move on. Just in case you didn't believe it right there, let's move on to another place. Just in case you said, well, that could be a misprint. You know, that don't mean that. It could be anything. Let's move on. Let's go to Deuteronomy, chapter 14. Deuteronomy 14, and we're going to pick it up, verse 8. Deuteronomy 14 and 8. Let's see, just in case you thought, well, that could just be put there. That's a trick Bible. Let's see. Deuteronomy 14, verse 8. And the swine, because it divideth the hoof, yet cheweth not the cud, it is unclean unto you. Ye shall not eat of their flesh, nor touch their dead carcass. Crystal clear. Verse 9. These ye shall eat of all that are in the waters. All that have fins and scales shall you eat. Verse 10. And whatsoever hath not fins and scales, ye may not eat. It is unclean to you. Crystal clear. Now let's move on to the last scripture here. So this is a little wham bam, to the point lesson. So-called, one hitter quitter. So let's move on to the last one. And we're going to see all the scriptures we just saw. We read a lot of scripture. Well, not a lot, but we read, look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 scriptures that come from the mouth of the Most High. 9 scriptures. Now let's see what we're supposed to do with these scriptures, and we're going to end it with this. James 1 and 22. It says, but be ye doers of the word, and not hearers only, deceiving your own selves. So every word you just heard here, don't only hear it or look at it, do it. If you don't, you're deceiving your own self. And with that, I say shalom. I hope you got some understanding. And may the Most High open your eyes and just, keep His law, statutes, and commandments. That's all it's about. This world is wicked. Once again with that, I say shalom and peace.